Okay, so here we are in lesson 6 of module 1, and we've talked about a lot in this module so far. We've talked about your big picture and why having a clear picture of where you want to go is important. We've talked about your powers or your strengths and talents and skills and how you should let those shine. We've talked about the dangers of getting sucked into the follow your passion craze, and instead about how we've talked about how we can use our passions to drive us and re-energize us. And we've talked about principles and values and how understanding what our principles and values are can help us build a strong foundation for our business and for your brand. Now we're going to talk about purpose. Purpose can be kind of a daunting topic, but here's the good news. You made it through the lesson on principles, so I know you can make it through the lesson on purpose. Today, I want to talk to you about why you matter and why your vision for your business and your life, and why your powers and strengths, and why your principles are very, very important, not just for you, but for the whole world. Purpose is actually a really big picture thing, and it's a long timeline, and our lives are just a tiny pixel on that timeline. But our lives are also a very important part of that picture. And I know this can be hard to imagine. If the world is really such a huge place, how is it possible that we matter and that our lives matter that much? How is it possible that our actions, or even worse, our inactions, could have a ripple effect that might hit the other side of the world? Here's the thing I want you to understand today. You don't have to be famous to make a difference or make an impact on the world. It's hard for me to talk about purpose without talking about my faith. I believe in an intentional, benevolent God who holds that big picture firmly in the palm of his hand. I believe that there are good things on this earth, and unfortunately there are bad things as well. But in the long run, the good things overshadow the bad things. In the timeline of everything that has ever existed, I believe that the good in the long run will always win. Now, I realize that there's some folks out there who would want to debate that, and that's fine. Honestly, that's where my faith takes over. But I also understand that sometimes in dark moments, it's hard to see the big picture, and it's hard to see how your life has purpose. It's hard to see how the painful moments add meaning or significance or purpose to our lives. But if we can look at the bad moments, we'll actually start to discover the secret to finding our purpose. And that's really simple. It's actually simply counting your blessings, looking at everything that you've been given, even the bad stuff. Sure, you're going to look at your powers and your talents and your strengths and your passions and your principles and your values and everything we just talked about. But I also want you to look at your experiences and think about the things that you've learned in life. I want you to try to see the good in the bad stuff, even if it stinks. Your experiences are part of what makes you unique. And that's going to be very important for you to realize in building a business. It's a truth that we were all born unique. Even a set of identical twins has differences in the unique personalities that they're born with and in the circumstances that shape their lives. Now, here's the cool thing about acknowledging the truth that we are all unique. When you acknowledge this truth, you eliminate the need to conform or imitate, and you invite the fulfillment of life that happens when you celebrate your authenticity. Now, I'm not trying to give you an excuse to be a rebel, but I do want to give you a reason to be confident in your talents and skills and abilities. The best way to live your purpose on good days and on bad days is to be you uniquely. Stop the comparison game and look at what you were put on this earth to be, not do. Look at what you were put on this earth to be. I believe that everyone needs a reason for living, and you have a reason for living whether you know it or not. You got out of bed for a reason, and it could be a very simple reason. It could be because your baby was crying, or it could be a reason on an even deeper level or a deeper belief. It could be that you got out of bed because you believe people are valuable and people need to be loved and carefully tended, and that you feel like you have been bestowed with a blessing of responsibility to do that at this stage in your life. Now, some people get out of bed for the party, and they are all about the entertainment, and I love to have those people around on some days, especially the bad days. But that philosophy can be a little bit short-lived. Money, status, recognition, notoriety, These are not reasons that are strong enough to motivate us to continue living. And that's where purpose comes in. Your purpose is actually a combination of all the gifts we've just discussed. Your purpose is to live out that vision for your business and life that you described earlier in this module. Your purpose is to take your gifts and your powers and your talents and your skills and use them for good. Your purpose is to discover what your values are and preserve those and use them to energize you. Your purpose is to share your values and the things that you believe with the world in order to make a difference in someone's life. When you add into that the gifts you've been given and the fuel for your journey, you have a recipe for legacy. Now, there are 5 questions I want you to ask yourself to help you dive deeper into understanding what your purpose is. And you're going to use a little bit of the information that you've discovered about yourself in the previous lessons to help you along in these 5 questions. There's also a worksheet for this, so take a minute and print that out and I'll walk through the questions with you. The first question is this: how can you help people? In order to better understand your purpose, look at how you can serve others. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, what is the good that you can do in this moment? Maybe thinking about a longer-term life purpose feels overwhelming right now, and that's okay. I want you to think about what is the best thing you can do right now for yourself and others, and then do that. The third question I want you to ask yourself in relation to your purpose is, what's your why? Keep asking yourself why over and over again, and for every answer, you'll get some deeper discoveries about yourself that will help you understand what you were put on this earth to do. The fourth question I want you to ask yourself, and it's one of my favorite questions, is how can you let your little light shine? You've been given your powers and your talents and your skills for a reason. How can you use those gifts to help serve the world? That's how you'll let your light shine. And it's probably how you're gonna have a lot of fun too. And the last question I want to ask you is this: how can you make it your mission to share your vision of your life and business with the world? And there's a way to do that. So this is all pretty cool, right? I believe you were put on this earth for a reason, and I believe that you were called to do some pretty big things. And if you're taking this e-course, I actually am almost entirely convinced that those things have to do with your business. And I think that's awesome. Take some time on this lesson, fill out the worksheets. And in the next lesson, we're going to talk about how to summarize everything we've just discovered about yourself before we move on to Module 2 and start talking all about your business framework. I'll see you there.